Hello, welcome to this video. In this video, I will explain how we can connect Linux virtual machines to internet using NAT network in VirtualBox or using NAT network service in VirtualBox. This block diagram describes how VMs can communicate with the outside world or to the internet using NAT network service of VirtualBox. Here outer rectangle represents host operating system and we have VirtualBox installed on host operating system. In my case, I am using Windows 10 as host operating system. These are the VMs created using VirtualBox hypervisor. Now suppose we need to configure all these VMs to use this subnet. I will use this subnet for demo. You can use any subnet according to your requirements. Now how we can make these VMs to communicate to the outside world? We'll use NAT network service of VirtualBox. So first of all, I will explain a bit about NAT. NAT stands for Network Address Translation. So what this service does? NAT service maps internal IP addresses which are normally non-routable IP addresses to the external IP addresses which are public or routable IP addresses to make communication possible to the outside world. In this scenario, NAT service will do similar job. It will map these IP addresses assigned to different VMs to some IP address used by host VM to connect to the internet via host Wi-Fi adapter. So communication will happen via host machine only. But these VMs will be able to access the internet. Now what we need to configure for this to happen? First of all, we'll configure NAT network on VirtualBox to serve this subnet. Then we need to change the network settings on each VMs to use NAT network we created in first step. Then we'll power on all the VMs. So all VMs will get one IP address automatically by DHCP service of VirtualBox. And these VMs will be able to access the internet. Of course, they will be able to communicate with each other because they are on same network or on same subnet. Having already said, these VMs will get IP address automatically due to DHCP service configured for this NAT network. But in case you want to assign static IP addresses, which is requirement in many lab cases, so which is also possible. You just need to configure these VMs with static IP addresses from this subnet. This is all you need to do. But in addition to this, you need to also configure correct gateway address and DNS IP to make this complete. Now I will move to next slide. Here we have steps we need to follow to configure this routing. First of all, we'll configure NAT network service on VirtualBox to serve our network. I'm using this subnet as an example. Then next, we need to go to each VM and change network settings of VM to use NAT network we created in first step. Then next, we'll power on the VMs. Having already said, IP address will be assigned to all the VMs automatically, and VMs will be able to communicate to the internet and with each other, of course. But make sure your host machine is connected to internet using Wi-Fi or using wired connection. The next, in case we need to use static IP addresses, we can do that. We just need to assign IP address to each machine from this subnet. This is all we need to do. For example, On Linux VM, we can use nmcli command line or nmtui text user interface. Then last step, which is very important, configure VMs to use this gateway address for this subnet. So it will be different for the different subnets, but it will be always first IP address of the subnet. And also we need to configure this DNS IP on every VM. So this is default DNS IP address for home networks, or I would say for this type C private network. You must use this for name resolution. Otherwise, you will have access to internet, but name resolution will not work, and you will not be able to access websites over the internet using URL. Here we have one note. By default, VirtualBox NAT Network comes pre-configured for subnet 192.168.122.0/24. So in case you need to put your VMs on this subnet, you can skip this first step. You can directly change network settings of VMs to use NAT Network predefined on the VirtualBox. Then everything will be fine. Here on this slide, we'll discuss how we can configure NAT Network on VirtualBox. We'll open command prompt on a host machine and we'll execute these commands. First of all, we need to change to this directory, VirtualBox, where VirtualBox programs are present. Then we need to use this program to add our network. I'm using network name as myNat. You can use any name. -- net name to provide network name. -- network to specify subnet we want to configure network service for. So in our case, we'll use this subnet. -- enable to enable this service for this network. -- on to enable DSCP feature for this service. This is all we need to do to add NAT network on VirtualBox. The next will follow remaining steps. Now I'll move to system and will configure this routing. Now we are on host machine and I have command prompt open. First of all, we need to move to the folder or directory VirtualBox. For this, we'll use cd command. Cd, then I will type complete path. This is the complete path we need to move. Enter. Now here I will execute dir. Here we'll find all the programs of VirtualBox. We need to use vbox manage. We'll use this program. The NAT Network. We need to use this program to manage NAT Network. I will press enter to list different subcommands available for this command line. We can use add -- net name, then network name. In our case, we'll use myNat. -- network. Here we need to specify subnet. -- enable to start the network. -- DSCP on to enable DSCP feature. We can disable this by using off. This is enough for us to know. We can use list to list NAT networks which are existing. We can use start to enable or start NAT network. We can use stop to stop NAT network. We can use remove to remove NAT network. Make sure to remove NAT network, you must stop this before you execute command to remove the network. We can use modify to modify existing NAT network. Now I will execute command to list existing NAT network. So here we have default NAT network which comes pre-configured on VirtualBox. I already explained about this NAT network. Now we need to add one more NAT network for our subnet. We'll use this command line, and here we need to use add subcommand -- net name. I will use mynet. You can use any name -- network 192.168.99.0/24 -- enable to enable the network -- DSCP on to enable DSCP feature for this network. So network has been created. We'll list NAT network. So here we have our NAT network. So here this is important. So this is gateway IP address for this NAT network. We must use this gateway IP address on each VM to route the traffic from the VMs to this NAT network. Otherwise, it will not be possible. Now this is all we need to do on the host machine. Now I will open VirtualBox and will start our VMs. Now we have VirtualBox open. Here I have two CentOS VMs. We'll configure these VMs to use NAT network we configured earlier. So we need to change network settings. We right click here, then settings, then network, then here adapter. Adapter 1, this is already enabled. This must be enabled. From the drop down menu, we need to select NAT network. Then further from here, we need to select network we created. So this is default network, which is NAT network. But we need to select myNAT. Then OK. This is all we need to do. Then same thing we'll do for the other VM. Network, enable network adapter, NAT network, myNAT. Then hit OK. Now I will start both VMs. Now VMs have been started up and I am on system 1 VM. I will execute IP space A. So here we can see IP address from the subnet 192.168.99.0/24 have been assigned on this Ethernet interface. In case you don't see this IP address, you can check from here if your connection is activated or not. You just need to go there and turn it on. Then you will see IP address will be assigned. Now I will ping Google DNS to check internet connectivity. So we have response. So this is working fine. Now I will ping www.google.com. This is also working perfectly fine. Now I'll show you one thing, the DNS IP address. So here we can see default DNS IP address is assigned automatically. Now I will move to system 2 VM. Now on system 2 VM, I will execute same command. So here we have IP address assigned. Now from this VM, I will ping IP address assigned to system 1 VM to check connectivity between these two VMs 192.168.99.4. 5. This is working fine. We'll also check connectivity to the internet. So this is also working fine. Now next, what if we need to configure static IP address on the interface? First of all, I will display existing connection. So here we have connection with name wired connection 1. The VM is connected using virtual network of VirtualBox, but this will be displayed as wired connection as it is connected with wire to the network. Now I will delete this connection using nmcli connection delete, then connection name. Connection has been deleted. Now we don't have any IP address assigned on ETS0 interface. I will also display resolve.conf file. So here we can see DNS IP address is also removed. Now we'll add one connection with static IP address. nmcli connection add. I will use connection name as system2 because we are on system2. You can use any name. Type Ethernet interface. We'll use ETS0 interface. This is only available interface. IPv4 addresses 192.168.99.20. I will assign this IP address. Make sure you are typing /24 for the subnet. Otherwise, it will take by default 32 and VM will not be able to communicate at all. So this is important. Now IPv4 gateway. Having already said, we must use the same gateway as it was defined while creating NAT network. 192.168.99.1. Then IPv4 method manual for static IP assignment. This is all we need to do. I still need to add DNS IP, but I will add DNS IP later on. Connection with name system2 has been added. Now to activate connection, nmcli connection up connection name. Connection has been activated. So here we have IP address assigned on this interface. I'll clear the screen. Again I will execute this command. Now we'll check connectivity towards the internet. We have connectivity, so everything is fine. Now what if I will type www.google.com? We have no response. This is because we did not configure DNS IP address. Make sure you must configure DNS for this connection. Now I will modify connection to configure DNS. nmcli connection modify. Connection name system2. IP v4.dns 192.168.1.1. Now we have DNS IP address configured. Again, we need to reset connection to make this effective. Now I will display resolve.conf file. We have DNS IP. Again, we'll execute this ping command. Now this is working fine. In similar way, you can assign static IP address on system 1 machine. Don't forget to configure gateway IP address and DNS IP. And after having all the configuration done, you will be able to communicate within the VMs on this subnet and also to the outside world. Now in the end, I have an announcement for you. In case you are preparing for Red Hat exams, you can find my courses for RSCSA and RSCE exam on Udemy website. These are the course names as specified on this slide. Thanks for watching this video.